There I am. Okay. Hello. Welcome, welcome. Oh, Amanda's on already. Well, Amanda, I hate to break it to you, but I'm not going to do any of your layout tonight. You have to do the whole thing yourself. Hello, hello. I'm just going to give everyone a few minutes to find our video. Yeah, someone's laughing. Usually I have to demo the background or something like that, but not tonight. Okay, people are rolling in. Awesome. Happy Wednesday evening. How is it Wednesday already? That's what I want to know. I don't know. Like, this week is flying. Okay, so we're going to get going. Hello, hello. We are doing the September launch party for our calendar series. And just to let everyone know, the bundles are not online until we are done the video. I don't even know how it's October. I don't know. I just feel like I'm on a treadmill on high speed. So I'm running in the spot all the time, never really moving forward, but yet time just seems to be flying by. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's just crazy that it's October. But it's cooling off in the evenings now, so it does feel a little bit like October. But that's okay. If time keeps flying, we're going to be through winter before you know it, and it'll be spring again. But we are going to launch the September bundle tonight. And this time around, we're using 49 and Market. And I was excited to play with it. This is the Vintage Orchard release. And we're going to be working with the rub-ons, which is a new favorite of mine. Well, not a new favorite. They've been out for a little while, but I love working with them. You can do so many things with them. So this month's bundle, you're going to get one sheet of designer paper, and it's already sort of collaged and done for you. And that's why I'm not doing Amanda's background, because a lot of the work is done for us, although we are going to work with it. So you can see that there's sort of like a framed in area back here. And then they've, put the collage greenery and everything on top with some text in there. So they really do take a lot of the hard work and do it for you. We've included a sheet of craft cardstock along with the bundle, and then you're getting a full package of the essential rub-ons. So there's 3 sheets in here. I'm going to open them up. And one of them we don't even touch. So you get a full sheet that you can do whatever you want with. They're pretty great. So there's 6 by 12 sheets. So there's your cover page and your back page. So if you're, really creative, you can maybe even use some of the things that are on this back page, but I did not. And then here are your 3 sheets of rub-ons. So I am using the top 2 sheets on the layout that I did. But this one here, I did not dive into. This one really appealed to me. I loved all the word options that were up here. And so when I first ordered this for the layout, I thought, oh, I'm excited to use that. But I just didn't work it into my design. When I create, where I start and where I finish are 2 very, very different points. And it's a pretty bumpy road in between sometimes. It's not always smooth, but eventually I get there. And I'm really happy with how the page turned out this time. I kind of had some photos in mind that I was going to use, and I didn't even use those. So it's kind of funny how everything evolves as I go through it. I'm sure you guys experience the same thing when you're crafting. But it was a fun journey. So there's lots of little things that I'm going to point out as we go along, lots of little details that I added before I even started. So that is what your bundle includes. And it's a super fun one. So I'm going to set that aside and I'm going to bring on the layout so you can see what I did. Okay, so I just got to make sure I'm centered here. My iPad has to catch up a little bit. Not bad. Okay, good. All right, so here is the layout. And then this is the calendar add-on part over here. So I'm going to take the calendar part away for a minute and we're going to focus a little bit on this. So this is, I think, what people get most excited about when they're doing the calendar series. I actually like both sides of the page equally, but I know that not everybody does the calendar side. So you can use this as a single page layout for your albums. You can put it on the top part of a blank calendar and hang it on your wall or give it away as a gift. And then you can also put it in your albums as a calendar, so to speak, where we're sort of dividing up our album as the year goes on. And this is just sort of your summary page. Now for me, this is my scrapbooking. This is pretty much all I get done throughout the year. And I'm actually pretty happy with that. Occasionally there are some months where I go through and I think, wow, I have a lot more photos that I want to include. So I might go back and do a few pages here and there in between these layouts in my album. So however you're approaching it. Now today I brought home a frame. Actually yesterday I brought home a frame, a shadow box frame. I did not get it put together this time, but I'm going to show that next month. Because sometimes I really fall in love with my layouts and I don't want to put them in my album right away. I really want to display them. So Doodlebug has shadow box frames. I actually brought the last one home, so we've got to order some more. And I'm going to include a few of them throughout my house, sort of as decor, because when I'm done with these layouts, I really don't want to tuck them away in an album yet. I want to look at them and sort of see them. So I'm going to start switching out the frames throughout my house and display my layouts because I really enjoy making them and I want to look at them as well. So that is another option too. You can frame your layouts as well. So I'm going to show that next month. I'm not prepared to do that this month, but we're going to come back to this. So I know we're not quite in fall yet. But September is one of those transition months as far as seasons go where there's no real theme to it. So like in January, you can do winter layouts, obviously. February, you can do like love related or winter layouts. March, again, is one of those transition months where there's not really a whole lot going on. Sometimes Easter's in March, so we can use that as a theme. But anyway, September is one of those transition months. And I know lots of families had kids going back to school, but back to school is too specific and we couldn't do something like that. But it's not really fall yet, in my mind. So I'm kind of like, you know what? I don't really know what to do. But I still feel like September feels like fall. So when I picked out this collection, I really had the apple theme in my head, not so much the leaf theme. And I do actually have photos of us picking apples. So they're over here on this page. They were going to be my focal point, actually. But I ended up that Amanda took these photos of my grandkids and I really wanted to use them on my layout. So this is what I ended up doing. So it's just a complete fluke that the coloring on these, in these pictures really matched the papers because I did not plan it that way at all. But it ended up working out that way. The matting color that I used, you can certainly pick a different color. The matting is not included in your bundle. It's something that you can add on. And I will go through the add-ons and things in a minute. But this is Color Vibe Terracotta paper. We do use it once on this side of the page in the September month. But all of these colors would work really well with the theme that, the papers in the line and the rub-ons and stuff. So you really could pick any of those colors. And as I'm saying this out loud, I'm thinking to myself, Shelby, we might want to add those colors into the add-on section so that people will know what those colors are. They were on the list that I sent. So maybe, maybe while you're sitting there watching me, you could add them to that add-on section. Just because if people want to switch out the matting color, it might be helpful to do that. Oh, thank you, thank you. Okay, so I used the terracotta because it really pulled out the color in Olivia's little shirt there. So it worked for me, but we'll throw some other colors in there that will work. Rub-ons. So it's hard to tell when you're looking at the layout, but there are rub-ons that I've added up here. I've added rub-ons to my title. The butterflies that you see on here are rub-ons. Even this little blob right here is also a rub-on. A bit more rub-on work over here and up here. So there's lots of kind of layering that we do with the rub-ons on the page. These little word tabs are also rub-ons. So I'm going to run through the add-ons for this month, which aren't crazy. I was a little heavy last month, but I'm going easy on you this month. And a lot of the things you're already going to have or we've already used before. And we're going to start with, and this is in no particular order. This is the way I have them on the list. So walnut stain, distress ink, and a foam applicator. I would say that I used my walnut stain ink for distressing the edges of my papers quite extensively this time. I thought this paper lended it well, so I used it quite extensively. So if you have not tried this technique yet, this is a good month to dive in. And I love the walnut stain. I just think it's a really nice neutral and can be used for even bright, fun summer pages as well. It works really nicely. I did also use my stapler to do the little technique on the photo matting. So you can see that once I got my photos matted, I kind of ripped a section and then added a staple. I also did it on the background in a couple of spots as well, just for added texture. So a stapler and staples are helpful if you want to do that. You will, if you want to do the stitching, you'll need a paper piercer, needles, and a piercing mat. So we've again used these things throughout the different months that we've been doing through the series. If you did not pick up on the stitching, I just followed the stitching design that was already in the background paper, and I will point this out a little closer when we are dissecting this further. But this just adds dimension and texture, so it kind of runs up here, comes out down here, and it runs along the bottom as well. So, so I did do stitching on the layout for that, and those are the tools that I use to do my stitching. White floss. We sell it in a 2-yard length, so 2 yards is plenty. Natural twine. I did add some natural twine around the photos. And we also sell this by the yard as well. Not by the yard. I think 2 yards, 5 yards, and 10-yard length. So you can get some of that. 2 yards is probably enough. If you're careful, I think you should have no problem getting that done with 2 yards. Sorry, I have to drink or I'm going to cough. Okay, and then we've got the chipboard letters, which we've also used on previous layouts. And they're just a nice black chipboard letter with some splatter on them. I end up sanding them, so they look pretty distressed on my layout. I love the flexibility that these give me for my title. Now, you'll notice that my first word is thankful. That's pretty generic. My other word is littles. I doubt very much that you're going to have the word littles on your page. I put our littles, but you can, if you're using the thickers or alphabet letters or whatever, you can personalize this however you want. We call our grandkids the littles all the time, so I personalize the page that way. Sanding block to sand the letters. And also I use it to sand the paper and the photos as well. And then Teflon bone folder. There is no applicator tool in the rub-on packages. So you need something to rub your rub-ons with. I find the Teflon bone folders work really, really well. So if you have a Teflon bone folder in your stash, you'll want to pull that out. They come in a few different designs. We do sell them at the store. So if you don't have one yet, you can pick one of those up. You can use a popsicle stick. You can use your finger. You can do all kinds of things. But again, I'm all about the tools. I think the tools really make the job much easier, and the bone folders do work really, really well. So a variety of ink colors I'm going to suggest to you. So I used the Oxide Ink Bundled Sage. Basically what you want to do, the only place we're doing the green ink blending is on page 2. And it's just to kind of bring that green over. Now, when I did my layout, I didn't run around my craft room and test out every green that I had to find the absolute perfect match. I pulled a couple off my shelf, and when I found something I was kind of close, I went, okay, good, I'm going with that. So I used the Distress Oxide Bundled Sage. And it's not exactly the same color, but it's close. And it works well. And I think it pulled out the color in the apples and the color in the green of my photos nicely as well. So I thought it worked really good. But I did swatch out a few different colors so that you can maybe, if you only have a certain brand, you can look through and see. So that's the Pink Fresh Olive. And again, I'll pull over my layout here just so you can kind of see it up against that. So some of them are a little brighter than what's on here, but I also feel like, in my case, it does pull out the lighter shades of green in my photos, and it worked really well with some of the other colors in the September title. So if it doesn't match this exactly, it still went really well with the elements on my page. So I didn't worry about it too much. So that's the Pink Fresh Olive. And then this is the Catherine Pooler Eucalyptus. So you'll see that that is a lot closer to this darker shade that is in this paper. So if you're going more for that, or if you collect Catherine Pooler inks and you happen to have eucalyptus, that will work. The Tailored Expressions Olive, I thought this one also worked really nicely with the darker tones in the paper. So that's a good option. Gina K Fresh Asparagus, again, a lighter green for me, you know, pulling out those lighter shades of green in my grass. It worked really nicely with that. The Concord and 9th Avocado works really nicely, and so does the Oxide Ink Peeled Paint. This is a little more on the lighter side of things, but I still think it works okay with the whole design. And again, depending on which elements you decide to use from the rub-on sheets, you may bring in some of the words that I didn't use that are closer to this color, so that might tie that in a little bit more. So depending on what you choose, I just wanted to give you a variety of ink suggestions. So, because I know some people are pretty brand specific, so those might fall into the category of the brand that you are collecting. So the ink is flexible though. You can definitely play around with it. I mean, you don't even have to go with the green at all. You can pull in any of those colors that are in the September title, and they would go very nicely with the papers and the embellishments that we're using. So don't get too crazy about the ink color being exact. And then I used the ink blending brushes of your choice to blend the ink on this page here. You're going to need something to blend those colors in. And then I also used the Winsor & Newton black and gold ink for splattering. Now I'm going to hold this up. I'm going to go closer to this little section here. I'm just going to see if my camera will catch up and catch it. So you can see down in here and up into here that there is splattering on there. The black is what's showing up the most, but there is gold in there, and it really, really looks amazing. So I highly recommend picking up the gold if you have not done that yet. I know we've used the black lots and the white, but the gold is really nice. And I feel like the tones in this layout, it really stands out. So at first I wasn't going to add it, but then when I did, I was like, ooh, that was a smart move. So I really love how it turns, and it just adds a little bit of shimmer to the layout. And I'm sure the camera is not going to pick that up, but it's really awesome. And then, like I said before, I did use terracotta cardstock for the matting for my photos, but Shelby has nicely added a few other colors in there that you could use for photo mats if you want. I also use craft. If you want to cut the center of your craft cardstock out that we gave you, you're welcome to do that. But if you have more photos that you want to use, you may want to pick up an extra sheet of the craft cardstock just to make sure that you have enough. I mean, it was certainly enough for what I did, but if you want to have more, feel free to pick that up. The T ruler was very handy for me, not only for the title on the calendar side, but also lining up these thickers and making sure that they're straight and even. It works really well. And then the die cut month letters, we have done a bundle with the September letters that coordinate with this. You'll need a black brush for splattering. I've been promoting this set recently. It's the what do they call it? Yasutomo brush set. You get all of these brushes in the set. I've used them several times for different techniques in our layouts, and I find sort of like the medium two color, or the two brushes are a nice size for splattering that ink. So anyways, you need a paintbrush for splattering. And then I did, and you may not even see it, but it really does stand out. Let me find the original piece of paper in Amanda's bundle. Where did I put that? Right here. Okay, so here is the paper before. And I'm going to pull this up. We talked about the stitching. So you can see that there is stitching, faux stitching shown in the background there. Well, I stitched right over top of that with white floss, and I used 2 strands of floss when I did it. And so you just pierce your holes right where they have holes, and you just follow the design, and that will give you that really nice texture in the stitching. I'll go nice and close so you can kind of see. I'm going to see if my camera catches up here so you can see the detail. Yeah, perfect. So see how nicely that just sort of adds some dimension and texture. I'm going to go that close down here and see if you can see the sparkle for the splattering. Probably not, but you never know. Oh, let's go up a little bit more. I always have to wait for my iPad to catch up. So like I'm on screen, but I'm not on screen. Yeah, so you can see that. No, you can't really. Maybe a little bit the gold that's down there, but it's really cool. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh, yes. The other thing I'm going to point out is, do you see this defined edge there with the green? What I did was I took a pencil crayon and I actually drew a very fine line with a dark brown pencil crayon, just to give that frame some definition. And before I put anything on my layout at all I had done was the stitching, the pencil crayon, and the splattering. I knew that I was going to love this layout right off the bat. It just sort of popped all of the elements that came on the paper and really made them stand out on the layout before I even started. So if you have a brown pencil crayon, so you might have to go raid your children's pencil case. It's only October 2nd, so the pencil crayons probably aren't wrecked yet. And find a brown one or even a dark gray. And then just take your ruler and just follow that line. And just sort of define that area. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but when you put all of these little elements together, that stitching and that line, and then when you add all your rub-ons and everything on top, it all just starts to build and ends up being something that you're just going to love. It's kind of like when you see a card on a shelf and you think, oh, I love that. But then when you actually make the card, you really love it because you get to go through this process that just makes it so fun. So that is it for add-ons. So nothing too tricky, a lot of basics really. And just remember that when in future months I put a ton of add-ons in there and you're cursing at me. Oh, one more thing was the calendar page. We don't talk about it all the time, but if you want to do that calendar option, like I did here, then you want to pick up one of those calendar papers, because that way you can turn it into a 2-page layout. And that still sort of represents the calendar, but it can be put in your album that way too. Okay, any questions so far about the add-ons? Thank you, Cheryl. I think it turned out really good too. Now this is last year's photo. So the boys haven't changed too much, but Olivia's really changed. And yeah, so we've got to make sure we get pictures of them together again this year because I love doing this page. I thought it was really fun to have them on there. And like I said, my title is So Thankful. And remember this. And then over here it says Our Littles, This Matters Most. You can switch up the word that you use for using your chipboard. You don't have to use the word littles because if you don't have littles, then that doesn't really make sense. But using that pack of chipboard letters that I shared gives you so much flexibility with the titles. Now I'll go through how I came up with the word so and our when I am sharing the details of the layout. But now what we'll do is we'll go through the measurements for everything, and it's not overly complicated. So again, I went kind of easy on you again in that department. First up, we're going to talk about the craft cardstock. Just set this aside. So you get a full sheet of craft, and you're going to do a couple of things with that. I did 12 by 12 for the background, and then you're going to layer this patterned paper on top. But if you want to use the center part of your craft cardstock, but just by cutting out the middle, you can use that cutout piece for the matting for your photos, or you can just pick up an extra sheet of craft cardstock in the shopping section for this month, and then you don't have to bother doing that. So you're going to use 12 by 12 for the background, and then the photo matting for the large photo, it's 4 by 5.5. And for the two smaller ones, it's 2 at 3.5 by 3.5. Okay, so that's all out of craft. And the craft goes on the back layer of the pictures, and then the color in the middle, and then the photo on the top. So that's the craft. And then the paper on the front is called pressed leaves. And you're going to eventually cut that to 11.5 by 11.5. But what I would recommend doing first is if you're going to do your stitching, you can go ahead and do that. Add your splatter. And once you're done that, kind of see how the design works. I think I took a full 1/2 inch off of this side of the paper because I think this frame is to the one side. And I had printed out my photos and kind of knew where I was going to put them. So to me, I wanted the frame over a little bit, so I cut the 1/2 inch off of here and then a 1/4 inch off top and bottom. But just take a look at your design before you decide where you want to cut. But eventually your paper is going to end up 11.5 by 11.5, and that's just going to sit right on top of that craft cardstock. And that will give you a nice 1/4 inch border all the way around. And then what I did was I sort of inked the edges of everything, and then I peeled back. I actually ripped the paper, and then I just stapled that down. And I did that in 3 different spots. So depending on where you put your photos, you're going to want to decide where that ripping takes place. And maybe you don't even like the ripping. I think it's awesome. I love the way it looks, and it just sort of exposes the reverse side of the paper. It gives you that torn edge there and a little bit of texture. So it's kind of fun. Cheryl says, oh, that's my granddaughter's name, Olivia. Oh, see? Yeah, we call her Livy a lot. But yes, it's Olivia. She's a doll. Well, she's actually a terror, but she's a doll. She's got red hair and she is fiery, but so fun. Okay. So then the other thing is I had actually cut off the barcode and thrown it in the garbage. I actually even crinkled it up and threw it in the garbage. So then I pulled it out, and the barcode strip, let me find the full sheet of paper. I had it. Here it is. This side of the barcode strip is just a light green piece of paper. So I actually used that to make these tabs. And I didn't really measure them, and I didn't even use scissors. I just tore the edges and made it as long as I needed it to be able to rub on these words. Okay, so they were actually even a little bit wrinkly, and they flattened out quite a bit actually, but I had thrown it in the garbage. So you do want to, well, you don't have to if you have another color you want to use, but I did use that barcode strip for the 3 pieces of paper to go there. And that worked out quite nicely. And that's why they call it scrap booking, because you're always going to use your scraps. And again, I didn't plan it. It was just, I was thinking, oh, I want to put these little word tabs in there. You know, what could I use to do that? And then I went, hey, you know what I could use is that barcode strip. And that's what I did. So you do want to use the barcode strip for the words. And then, like I said before, I use the Color Vibe Terracotta for my colored cardstock formatting. I sanded the edges of it. And I did rip it after I got it in place. And you can see how I've kind of like tipped the matting so that more of it is exposed. I thought that looked really cool. So again, 4 by 5.5 for this piece. And these are both 3.5 by 3.5. Same technique for both. You just sort of plunk them on there and sand the edges and then rip the little piece and put a staple in. And then this piece here, I tucked between the photo and that colored cardstock. And for me, it was about balance. So I put one on either side of this photo and then one over here. And that kind of worked out good. And then the photos themselves, this one here is 3.5 by 5, and these are both 3 by 3s. And then I sanded the edges of those as well using my sanding block. So that's that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the positioning of all of the rub-ons that I used, because it's going to be really hard to tell just by looking at the photo or looking at this picture that we're seeing on the video. So I'm going to walk you through where I put the rub-ons and what I used. So let's take these rub-on sheets. Ugh. So again, the one I didn't use at all, the one rub-on sheet, so I'm going to leave that off screen. So I'm going to start on this page, and I'm going to go kind of like this way. So these two sections here, and then I'll do the main layout. So for this collage, I'm going to point out how I did this. So with these rub-ons, you can actually rub on top of a rub-on. So you can layer them, which is really fun to do. And in both of these sections, I've layered 3 sets of rub-ons together, and I just love how it works. So I'm going to come up nice and close so you can see the detail. So first I ink blended this section with my ink. And then I put on the definition rub-on first. Then I did the baskets, and then I did the quote. Okay, so that's the order that I did it. And then down in this corner here, oops, let's see, can we get the corner in? Again, I did the definition first. Oh, I guess we could get it in. The definition first, then I did the leaves, and then I did the quote. Okay, and then I added the bee and the butterfly in afterwards. So although it does look like it's one whole rub-on, it's actually a rub-on on top of a rub-on on top of a rub-on. So don't be afraid to layer them up, especially this type of design. I think it lends itself really easily to layering and collaging, and it's super easy to do. There's no special technique. You just make sure that the rub-on is on well, and I will demo a rub-on. I have some extras, so I'm going to demo how you use it. But in this particular case, I used the Orchard definition. So when I say definition, I mean these pieces here that have like the blob of watercolor, and then it looks like a definition. So right here is the Orchard, and it has the big bold word Orchard. So it's the Orchard definition, and then the baskets. And then from this sheet here, where is it? It's Oh My Grateful Heart right here. So I layered all 3 of those together, and then there are some little bees. There's 2 bees. One of them is here, and the other one is down here. So that's how I did this one. And then over here, I've got the autumn definition. So if you look at your page here, you've got the autumn definition up here. And then the oak leaves, there's a pair of oak leaves right here. So I actually flipped them this way around to add them on. And if you look really closely, right here, you can see like an open space. So my rub-on didn't rub on all the way. Can you see that open space there? It's okay, because it does look distressed. And so if a little piece of it doesn't rub on, don't worry about it. It looks just fine. It actually looks like it's supposed to be that way. And then I did In the Golden Glow of Fall. And again, that's on this one here. So it's right here. And then the bee, one of the little bees. And then the small orange butterfly. So there's a larger orange one and a smaller one. I used the smaller one, and it's right here. So that is the rub-ons that I used on this part. And then I'll go over to the actual layout. And I'll start up at the top here, and we'll kind of go around like this. So I'll move this page over. So the together definition is at the top. So that's right here on your sheet. Now this blob ends up here, but I turn it around the other way. So when you do the together definition, cut out that blob separately, and I ended up putting it over here. So that's actually not part of the paper. I rubbed that part on, so that looks kind of cool. So you really do have to like rub your fingers over everything to see what is actually on the paper and what isn't, because it's hard to tell. And then the together word tab, again, I use that barcode strip, and then there is the word together right here. So I just rub that right on there. And then down here for the word hour, I actually took the word glorious, and I used the O, the U, and the R to do hour. And then the S and the O I used to do the so up at the top here. So I kind of tore the word glorious apart, and I made two smaller words. And then I used chipboard for that. And then this matters most. That's on here somewhere, right here. This matters most. And then you can see the green butterfly is on here, as well as the large orange one. So your green one is at the top here, and then the large orange one is over here. And then over here, I used the harvest rub-on. That's in the middle here. And then the blob, which is this part here. And then the grateful and fabulous words are right here on here. So grateful is somewhere right here, and fabulous is here. So those worked for those photos. And then at the top, I explained so, and then there is remember this on here somewhere. Right there. And then there's a really faint butterfly here. It's the one that's right there. And then another small butterfly at the top over here. So that's the other small one there. I love this layout too. And it was clever, wasn't it? Because I'm thinking, okay, I've got these chipboard words. I can spell anything I want. But I love to mix and match fonts and titles, or not titles, fonts and mediums to make different titles. Like, it's good if they have different script or dimension or size or anything. So I thought, well, how, like, what can I just had the word littles there at first, because I knew I wanted to use the word littles. And then I found this, it said this matters most. Well, yeah, they matter the most to me, and they're our littles. So my husband would get mad at me. I often say they're my littles, and they're my son and my daughter. And he says, I was there too. So I was very mindful and made sure I put our. And over here, when I use the word thankful, I'm so thankful for them. And, just remember this. And, so it kind of all fell into place. So definitely, get your thinking brain on and how you want to work with that. But yeah, I managed to get both of those words out of the word glorious. So that was cool. Okay, so that's that. And then over here, we did all that. Okay, so that's it. So that is all the rub-ons that I used and how I used them. Yes, I know, that's me. Very mindful. That is not a word I would use to describe myself. In my brain, I'm very mindful, and I'm very a lot of things. But on the outside, I don't know what happens. It just goes south. I try to be a good person. Okay, now the jewels I used. I forgot to grab those off of my my shelf. So I don't have them in the package anymore. They are from Pink Fresh. I'm just going to grab my little container here. Well, it's actually not a little container. It's a big container. So this is the holder. It says the holder for tiny things, storage for tiny things from Tailored Expressions. And you will see my most full section is this one right here. So these are the clear drops from Pink Fresh, and that is the champagne color. So that is what I used. I have to close this, otherwise you know what's going to happen. It'll be all over my floor, and I will cry. But you can see that I put a few of them here and here, just kind of around my title. And then I did add a few of them over here as well. So just clustered them around the areas where I use the rub-ons and stuff. So I love those clear drops. I'm going to order more because I keep talking about them, and I know we're going to sell out. I also really like the iridescent ones. They kind of look like silvery, but they really pick up the colors. Whatever colors are on your page, they really kind of pick those colors up. So they work really nicely as well. But I did use the champagne ones. They kind of worked really nice with the tones that I was using on my layout. So I thought that worked really well. Okay. Do I need to explain anything else? I'm not going to demo the stitching because I feel like you just follow the pattern that is on the paper itself. It's very easy to do. Just 2 strands of white and pierce your holes first and just follow along. It's very easy. It does come over here quite a bit and then it comes down the side, but I ended up covering most of it off. Love how you brought rub-ons back into play. Been around forever, but such new ideas. Never thought to layer them. Well, so rub-ons have been around for a very long time, and there's definitely been a resurgence with some companies. But I think they've also improved the rub-ons a lot, and the style of rub-ons that they're doing just make it very easy for this look. So I think it's pretty fun to use. So don't be scared of rub-ons. If you used them in the past and you didn't love them, give them another chance because they're really great. And I love that you can layer them. Like this looks like it could be part of the paper. Like it really does. So it kind of makes things so easy to create, and it makes you look like a real artist when you're really not. And that's okay, because I'm not either. I just like to play with paper and die cuts and all kinds of fun things. So anybody else have any questions they need me to help them out with? I can do that live before we go off, but yeah. So bundles will go live now, and they'll be available as long as we have them. We do still have a handful of the August bundles, so if you did not pick that up, make sure you do. We do not leave them hanging around for very long. So if you want that August bundle, make sure you grab it before they're gone. And same thing goes with September. Don't wait too long. Like, don't come to me in December and say, oh, I need September's. Well, it's not going to be here. You know, we've kind of got the ordering down to a science now. And we don't like to have things left over. We like to, you know, move on to the next thing. So that is the plan. But grab it while you can. I just think this layout is so generic, and you can do so many things with it. For my photos on this side, I am loving the collage options. So I got a new phone. I am now an Android phone person. I am not an Apple person anymore. It was a big leap for me. I got sucked in by the quality of the camera. So that's my new thing. So I'm learning new things. I still have my iPad, so I am able to print my photos using the same collage app I was before. But I might discover new things now that I have an Android phone, but you never know. But I'm loving, I know, you know, you can never say never with me, because I just like to do different things. I don't know. I'm weird that way. But I've been an iPhone person for a very long time. I tried switching once before, and it did not work very well. But I took the dive, and I love the phone, and I love the camera, and it's awesome. So anyways, what I'm getting at here is that I love the collage option for photos. So you have to find, well, you don't have to. I encourage you, strongly encourage you, to find a way to collage photos on 4x6s. So when I say that, it means you're going to find a collage where you can insert 4 or 5 different photos, and then you print it off as a 4x6, or if you want to go bigger, you can go 5x7. And then once you have that printout, you cut them all apart. And that allows you to get all these different sizes. And rather than just looking at your photos in a linear way, it really, really makes it very fun to look at. And I feel like, for some reason, I feel like Owen really stands out a lot more in this setting than he would if I just had a picture of Owen on the page. And you can see how my photos are overlapped, and some of them I pop up and some of them I lay flat. I sand the edges so it defines the edge of each picture. It just really is a lot of fun to do. So I highly recommend collaging and printing your photos. and doing it that way. And even you can take this cluster of photos and make that this section on your layout. It doesn't have to be just here. So if you want to use more photos, you can totally recreate this look right down here in this corner. So you can get a whole bunch. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 photos, and the footprint is about the same. You'd have to play around with your matting a little bit and stuff, but you can totally do it. Welcome to the Android dark side. Okay, so Samantha, funny story. When I knew I was going to be going to get my new phone, I was doing a make and take day the week before and then the day before. And so when we do our make and takes, I often encourage my customers to take a picture of the card that we're working on so that they can have it right beside them and they can zoom in on any details that they need to. I was looking, what is the percentage between iPhone and Android? Well, I have to say it was about 95% iPhone, and I was really scared. I'm thinking, oh my God, am I making a mistake? But I'm totally happy with my decision. I think they're both great platforms. I do think that like working with both now, I do think that the Apple is more intuitive, but the Android gives you more flexibility. Does that make sense? That's what I'm learning. So yeah, anyways, this is not about phones. It's supposed to be about layouts. I love that collage idea for the other page. Oh, 100%. If you want to create areas with more photos, you can totally do that. Even this photo, like I've got one picture there. You can collage a photo and leave it together. You don't even have to cut it apart and still have a whole bunch of photos in there. So there's lots of ways to include more pictures on layouts if you want to. I had these 3 photos and they worked really well, and that was the main thing. So, but I was able to get in a lot more over here, which I loved. So anyways, that's it for me. I'm going to sign off because I'm just rambling now. And I hope you have fun creating your pages, and we will see you again soon.